here with Kevin Owens. Kevin, thank you for being here. Let's just jump right into it. One of my favorite moments that you've been in recently, well, not recently, it's been a couple years now, was working with Stone Cold Steve Austin. What was that experience like for you?
It's very hard to put into words, man. I was a huge Stone Cold fan. At one point, I would argue that I was the biggest Stone Cold fan there was out there.
Hmm.
Um, and if people would need proof, my parents would be the first to tell you I had Stone Cold Steve Austin posters, floor to ceiling, all over. Stone Cold merch, just everything. Anyway, and throughout the years, I actually have this history with Stone Cold from meeting him in an airport in 2005 and asking him for advice as a professional wrestler, trying to make my name, to being on his podcast several years later when I was still trying to get to WWE, and him kind of helping me out and giving me this platform as a independent wrestler to try to get my name out there, to asking him, after I was already in WWE, whether, if I could use the Stone Cold Stunner as my finishing move, and him, giving me the go ahead. And then, all that culminating into him coming out of retirement after 19 years to have a match with me, of all people. It's very hard to even believe that story is real, but it is, all of it. So to, put that into words is very difficult, but undoubtedly the most special moment of my career. And I've had a great career, a lot of great moments. I really don't know what's going to top that
How does something like that come together? Do you guys know a year in advance, a couple weeks in
one.
advance?
So Vince McMahon told me at the Royal Rumble that year, which was a few months before, that I
Hmm.
would be involved with Stone Cold at WrestleMania. We didn't know what it was going to be. We certainly didn't know it was going to be a match. We just had a loose plan of,
Hmm.
we're going to have a Kevin Owens show with Stone Cold Steve Austin and go from there. And that's what it stayed as for a long time, until a couple days before, when we got to Dallas, and Steve felt a certain way and felt pretty good, looked pretty good. Um, and then we just started talking about, what if it turns into this? What if it turns into that? And then it all came together the way people watched it. We'll see.
Awesome. Very nice. Speaking of someone you've known for quite a while and have had a history with, obviously you're on Smackdown now, but you have quite a bit of history with Sami Zayn. You guys had a pretty significant run here recently. What was it like working with him again?
Well, Sammy brings out the best of me as an opponent and as a partner. And he's a very, it sounds exaggerated to say this. To me, especially when like people will call themselves that, and it makes me roll my eyes a lot. Whether people call themselves like great or good, or even people say, I'm good at this, I'm great at that, I'm the best in the world. Okay. Sami Zayn is probably the best I've ever been in the ring with. And I don't think I'm the only one who would say that. As far as the athletic side goes, he can do it all. Um, from a performance standpoint, from the intensity, the passion he brings, and the connection he has with the audience, very few people have it all like he does. So I'm very lucky that he happens to be basically my wrestling brother for the last 20 years or so, probably more at this point. He influenced me a lot as a performer, and I got to learn a lot from him, from watching him, from working with him. Um, so getting to win the tag team titles with him at WrestleMania in the main event, really incredible. Probably number 2 on the list of most incredible moments of my career, right behind Stone Cold. And then not far behind that is I actually got to wrestle him one-on-one at WrestleMania a few years before that. And our first WrestleMania was in a ladder match, in the same match together. And we that's not even just that. We also teamed at WrestleMania 34 against Daniel Bryan and
Hmm.
Shane McMahon. So we've just had a lot of really special moments together. And at the end of the day, when my career is over, it's still going to be, Sami Zayn will always be. When I look back on my career, people look back on my career, Sami Zayn is going to be like a constant throughout my career. But yeah, I think he brings out the best in me. So anytime I'm in the ring with him, as a partner, as an opponent, it's a treat.
And now that you're on SmackDown and kind of doing a solo run here, what do you think about getting yourself back in the world title picture at some point?
Um, Well, obviously I'd love that, but I'll be honest, maybe a little too honest. I don't think the fans would like that because I've had my shot at Roman Reigns many, many times. For one reason or another, it didn't work out. I almost don't want to even try because I don't think that's what fans want. They've seen it. Fans want new, exciting things. I don't think Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns is something they're asking for. I don't. I'm here for the fans. I want people to enjoy what I'm doing. So as much as I wish I could be champion and go for the title again, I don't think it's right. So it's not in my plans.
Yeah, I appreciate the honest answer there. Something that comes to mind from that answer is, there are some people in the business who didn't grow up watching wrestling. You kind of mentioned you were a Stone Cold fan, for example, growing up. Do you think being a fan allows you to have that mentality or that mindset or that understanding of hey, maybe now's not the time for me to be a champion right now while Roman's holding it, just so you know.
I mean, I think so. Like this is the thing, right? I think I would. Uh, if I were to win the title, I think I'd do a great job with it, and I think fans would
Mhm.
enjoy that part of it. I just don't think that I don't think I should go after Roman because we've done that. It's
Right,
happened. I
right.
don't think anybody would be excited for another Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens match. A few years ago, I think I could. I honestly, I genuinely think I could have wrestled Roman Reigns at WrestleMania any of the last 3 years, and it would have been fine. But
Mhm.
for some reason, it was always no. It's at the Royal Rumble or it's leading up to the WrestleMania and this and that. So to me, it's been done. And I think you are right. I've been a fan my whole life. I was 11 years old when I became a fan.
Mhm.
Right. I've watched it religiously, and I think I've always had a pretty good pulse on, or a pretty good finger on the pulse of the audience because I am one of them. I've never lost that. So when I even, anything I'm involved in, I always try to look at it from the fans' point of view. Um, for example, again, being very honest, Sami Zayn and I wrestled Judgment Day so many times over the summer, so
Mhm.
many times,
Yeah.
and every match was great. People were rocking every match, but I understand when the audience goes again. I get it. I
Mhm.
get it. I go again. You know what I mean? And
Right.
whatever. I mean, some people might not like me saying that, but it's also it's kind of sometimes it's a necessity for what we do because of the way the show is, the way people
Right.
like it just happens. But again, our job as performers is to try to deliver as much as we can, and we certainly did that every time. Go back and watch any of our matches from against Judgment Day at any point. Crowd's going crazy every time. So it might start out as like, oh man, this match again, but then by the end, that's forgotten about. It's gone because people are partying and it's a raw. It's. But yeah, I'm able to step outside of of myself and just look at everything. And sometimes I'll go, well, I just don't think that's the right thing, or maybe we should do it differently. And this is one of them. I don't think people need to see Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens again. I just don't.
Sure. And what would you say is probably some of the best advice you've gotten throughout your career, whether it's been in WWE, outside of WWE, just at any point during your career that's kind of stuck with you and maybe something you've lived by?
Well, once uh, in order to get to WWE, I was on the independent circuit for a very long time. People kind of know this story, or most people know it. I met Stone Cold Steve Austin at an airport in 2005. Asked him for advice, and he gave me the advice of just no matter what I do, just keep running my mouth, which obviously keep being vocal, keep talking
Yeah.
shit. And I took that to heart. Oh my God, did I ever? And I think it was instrumental in helping me get to where I am now because I think for a long time that was my calling card is even when he's wrestling, he won't stop talking. And that became part of my personality and it helped shape who I am as a performer. And that's just one of many pieces of advice I've gotten. I had the chance to be around Dusty Rhodes for about 9 to 10 months while I was in the performance center before I got
Hmm.
called up and then, he unfortunately passed away not long after that. But I got more wisdom and advice from him than probably anybody in my career. And I can't just give you any, I can't just pick one out. There's too many gems over the years. But there's so many people that were instrumental in helping me. But the one the one piece of advice that does stick out is the Stone Cold running my mouth thing, just because look at how it came full circle. I ended up wrestling him at WrestleMania, probably because he gave me that advice almost 20 years before that.
And obviously the hot question going on right now is the hot topic is CM Punk's return. What are your thoughts on CM Punk's return, and what do you think that does for the business?
I just want to have fun at work. So if he's got that mindset, great.
Awesome. And another person who's returned, Randy Orton, and I believe he's going to be over on SmackDown earlier this week. Talk a little bit about him. I know you've probably worked with him quite a bit.
I love Randy. I'm so happy he's back, and he's much needed. To me, having him around in the locker room is an absolute positive. He's good for, there's just some people, besides the fact that he's a fantastic performer and he's a legend, there's some people that are just good to have around. He's good to have around. He's good for the morale. And he brings a sense of there are people now, which is what I love about our locker room currently. There are people that are leaders without saying I'm a leader. They don't need to be. They just are. Randy's one of them. So when he's around, everybody just steps up their game just because Randy Orton's here, and I love that.
And the WWE Holiday Tour is going to be making its way through LA here later this month, or in December actually. Anything about LA or the LA crowd, or just the city itself that stands out compared to some of the other locations you've been throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very special place for me. I wrestled there as independent wrestler a lot before WWE. My home promotion as an independent wrestler was PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, which had shows in Los Angeles and in Reseda, and not too far. So it was a huge part of my career, and I still have great friends from those years that live there. I remember I got the main event in the Staples Center against John Cena, pretty soon into my WWE run. That was really surreal. I remember being in the Staples Center for WrestleMania 21, watching Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle put on that classic, and watching John Cena and Batista winning their first titles and stuff like that. So that city just has a lot of history, just as far as my career goes, and obviously this year winning the tag team titles with Sami at the main event of WrestleMania, pretty much in Los Angeles, or whatever you want to call it. So it's great. Anytime I get to go back there and get to perform, it's just kind of, it's in a way it's being back home, even though it was kind of home away from home as far as wrestling goes. It's a big part of my career. So.
Awesome, Kevin. Well, I'll get you out on that one. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, man.